Since it's gem show season, I thought I'd bring y'all a story time from my last gem show experience. Now get ready, we're about to dive into a wild tale of how we hand-selected 10,000 pounds of crystals in the middle of a 2,000-mile move, all before ever stepping foot in our Houston home. Let me set the scene. It's a gloomy Washington day and we are getting ready to move out of Seattle. We had only 24 hours. Well, I had longer. I just am a major procrastinator. I waited absolutely last minute to pack up a 10 by 20 pop-up shed, 12 by 15 little studio workshop, plus all of mine and Val's stuff. And moving in and of itself is a very stressful task, let alone trying to move a business. There was thousands and thousands of pounds of crystals, I kid you not. It was absolute insanity trying to get everything packed up in 24 hours. We pulled an all-nighter and we were just throwing things into boxes. It took months for us to unpack all the crystals and get everything sorted. We worked with a company that you only pay for the amount of square footage that you use in the truck. They do this to maximize the space to make it affordable if you don't need the whole truck space. Basically, we ended up taking the full semi-truck. We filled it all the way to the brim, with over 90% of it being business and 10% being personal belongings. We're gonna throw the story back a little bit further because I have two gem shows to talk about during this. There's a gem show in the beginning of January and a gem show in the end of January, beginning of February. And the one at the January-February is going to be the Tucson gem show, and the one beginning of January is Quartzite. Quartzite is one of those very unknown gem shows. It's quite literally in the middle of nowhere in the desert. You drive out, you are driving and only see desert, nothing around, and then just boom, there's a very, very small town filled with tents. It's pretty unknown. Because it's so hard to get to since it is in the middle of nowhere. Nothing's around. When we go to this gem show, I've been once before by myself, and then the second time around, I brought Val. I ended up staying in Blythe, California, which is like the closest larger town. Quartzite's pretty much right on the border. And if you're buying large amounts of crystals, usually when you do store them, you have to bring them to your hotel room or work it out with a dealer to keep your crystals at their place. Sometimes, especially for the Quartzite, there's no UPS to drop your boxes off to start building pallets. But when you're buying so much, you have to unload the car because you need to fill it up again. I think we rented a Prius or something, so there's not that much space in the car. We had to do many trips of the unloading, loading process, especially since we were planning on sending these crystals to a storage unit so we could keep them there for a month and be back to pick them up when we were here for the Tucson Gem Show. We spent around a week hand selecting the most gorgeous gems for our shop, and I had so much fun. Once the unit was packed, we returned back home so we can get ready for our move. After working all night trying to get the house all packed up, we left early in the morning for our flight. No sleep. We flew all the way to Tucson, and we had about a week to shop for this gem show. Let me tell y'all, Tucson is insane. I kid you not, I don't think there's a gem show this big anywhere else. Crystals take over the city of Tucson. There's probably like 50 to 60, and these are the registered gem shows. That is so many. You cannot go to all of them if you wanted to. Plus there's so many crystal shops that have physical stores, like large warehouses. There's warehouses, there's gem shows, there's individual shops you can go to. You can quite honestly shop till you drop here. We've gone to the Tucson Gem Show 3 separate times, and it is always so much fun. My first ever Tucson show was back in 2018. I went with my big and my sorority. Her dad was a super big rock hound. So there's so many registered and unregistered gem shows that's going to have multiple vendors, some of them ranging anywhere from a couple to a couple hundred. Crystals galore. It is an absolute dream for any mineral crystal lover. Probably my favorite thing ever. It is so much fun to connect with the dealers and also just to be able to have the hand selecting experience. Throughout the show, we accumulated 4 pallets filled with crystals. Plus, we had to go grab all of the boxes from our storage unit, which totaled out to be 8 pallets plus another pallet from a dealer that was sent about a week later. So 9 pallets, we had about 9,000 pounds of crystals. After wrapping up with the Tucson show, we got our butts in the car, headed to Phoenix so we could rent the van, and head our way to Blythe, California to pick up the crystals from our storage unit. Which is about 2.5-ish, 3 hours. And in that drive, it was low-key such a scary experience because it was so windy. Being in one of those vans, they are meant to carry a lot of weight, and when there's no weight in them, they're very very light, and I felt like we were gonna blow away with a gust of wind. As soon as we got to Blythe, we emptied out our storage unit, packed everything up into our van, and headed back. In the morning, we had to figure out a place to ship because we were flying out later that night. We pretty much had all day long to get the shipping situation sorted out. And it did not turn out exactly as we were planning. I thought it was going to be very easy to ship a pallet or a few pallets of crystals from Phoenix since it's a city. Couldn't find anything that was going to be affordable. It was just not the vibe. It was going to cost like 3-4 times the amount of what we're used to. And shipping is a factor that we calculate when we're pricing crystals. I like to keep the cost as low as possible so I don't have to mark up due to those extra costs of unnecessary spending for shipping pallets. After hours of searching, we then decide drive back to Tucson, ship our pallets at the UPS we just came from. With a little detour, we ended up driving 650 miles in the last day and a half. We had to drive from Tucson to Phoenix, from Phoenix to Blythe, from Blythe to Phoenix, from Phoenix to Tucson, from Tucson to Phoenix. And each one of those drives is like around 1.5 to 2.5 hours. It was crazy. After our road trip, we ended up dropping the van off. We got on the flight, and we were finally able to take our first steps in our brand new home. We ended up having to wait around a week for the semi to get delivered. The full semi we had to unload, plus the pallets, plus all these crystals just everywhere. A house that we just moved into, a city, a state we've never lived in before. And all of this was spanning within a month's time. We did the 2 gem shows, which both we were shopping for 2 weeks. We had a major drop of Valentine's Day boxes that we were working on. We had a move. We truly to this day do not know how we got everything moved during that period because it was so much stuff. Like, it took months for us to get everything situated. It was so much. Everything. There were so many. I was delusional thinking that I could get all that done in 1 month, and the amount of things that were just randomly thrown into boxes was crazy because we didn't have time to sort. We just were trying to get things into boxes and get the hell out of the room. Thank you so much for watching our first ever story time. If you like this, make sure to drop a comment and leave a like, and I will see you guys next time.